The galaxy forgot us, but the stars never did. In the silence between systems, where light bends and time grows thick, there drifts a question older than empires. It moves through the void like a prayer without a god, like a name spoken in an empty house. The civilizations that now rule the spiral arms, the Valthene with their crystalline minds, the Chromath swarms that think in chemical symphonies, the Essence Collective that abandoned flesh for pure thought. They all speak of the old ones, the makers, the ghosts. They speak of humanity, but they speak of us the way children speak of monsters, the way scholars speak of myths. They say we burned too bright. They say we loved too fiercely. They say we broke every law of nature and then wrote new ones in our own blood. They say we are gone, but in the depths of the Antar Nebula, where stellar winds howl through columns of newborn stars, something awakens. A signal. Old. Impossibly old. It pulses with a rhythm that predates the current age of galactic civilization by 3,000 years. It speaks in electromagnetic whispers, in gravitational echoes, in quantum entanglements that should have decayed eons ago. It speaks in mathematics. And mathematics, as every species learns, is the first language of truth. The Valthene science vessel Crystalline Thought detects the anomaly first. Its crew of 17 crystalline intelligences, each one a lattice of silicon and light that has pondered the universe for centuries, halt their observations of a dying red giant to investigate. They have seen many wonders. They have witnessed stars being born and worlds collapsing into quantum foam. But this is different. The signal originates from a structure they should not have missed. A satellite, no larger than a Valthene leisure craft, hanging in the gravitational eddy of two colliding nebular flows. Its hull is scarred by micrometeorite impacts. Its solar arrays are cracked and dark, but its core still burns with power. The Valthene name it Object 7743 Hum, the suffix denoting its suspected origin. Human artifact. They approach with caution. Humanity's legacy is littered across 1,000 systems, dead stations and silent colonies, weapons that still fire when disturbed, and machines that refuse to die. The Valthene have learned to be careful. Everyone has. The boarding team consists of 3. Crystalline Observer, 7th of Reflection, whose lattice structure allows for rapid processing of visual data. Keeper of Dead Languages, who has spent 4 centuries studying the extinct tongues of vanished species. And Silent Watcher of Stars, the youngest, barely 200 years crystallized, whose curiosity burns hotter than her caution. They cut through the airlock with precision lasers. The door opens with a hiss that should be impossible. Atmosphere, after 3 millennia. The air that escapes is stale but breathable, thick with the scent of old metal and something else, something organic that has long since turned to dust. Inside, the station is dark. Their light forms cast prismatic reflections off walls covered in a language none of them have seen in living memory. Human script. English, if the archives are correct. The words are everywhere, painted on walls, etched into metal, carved into the very bones of the structure. Remember us, one wall proclaims. We were here, says another. The stars are ours and we give them to you, declares a third, the letters 10 feet tall, desperate and proud. Silent Watcher of Stars pauses before that last message. Her crystalline form pulses with something the others might call unease. Why would they write this? If they were leaving, why claim ownership and relinquish it in the same breath? Keeper of Dead Languages hums, a sound like wind through glass caves. Because they are paradox. Every record suggests this. They wanted everything and gave everything. They conquered and befriended. They built weapons that could shatter moons and composed poetry about flowers. Impossible creatures, 7th of Reflection murmurs. Yes, Keeper agrees. That is what made them terrible and magnificent. They move deeper. The station's layout is strange, organic in its curves, yet mathematical in its precision. Rooms flow into one another like thoughts in a dreaming mind. They pass through what must have been living quarters, beds designed for creatures that slept, tables meant for communal eating, screens dark for 3,000 years, and photographs. Hundreds of photographs pinned to walls, sealed in protective cases, clutched in the mechanical hands of maintenance drones that died at their posts. The Valthine pause before them, their light forms dimming as they process what they see. Humans, not the monsters of legend, not the titans of terror. People, faces, so many faces, smiling, laughing, crying, serious. Adults holding smaller versions of themselves. Offspring, the archives call them children. Groups gathered together, arms linked, mouths open in what the Valthine have learned to recognize as expressions of joy. Images of blue skies and green landscapes, of liquid water oceans and yellow sun stars. Earth. This is Earth. They were beautiful. Silent watcher of stars whispers, and her elder companions do not correct her. Though beauty is a concept the Valthine abandoned when they transcended flesh. But here, now, surrounded by these frozen moments of vanished lives, the word feels accurate. At the heart of the station, they find it. The source of the signal. A chamber carved from a single piece of black stone, not metal, not composite, but stone. Granite, perhaps quarried from some world's ancient crust and hauled across light years for reasons only humans would understand. And at the center, suspended in a field of soft blue light, floats a cube, matte black, 30 centimeters on each side, absolutely perfect in its geometry. Its surface drinks their light. A data core, seventh of reflection, identifies. But the storage capacity. He trails off, running calculations. It should not be possible. The quantum density alone would require. No, they could not have. But they had. Because humans took impossible as a personal challenge. Keeper of Dead Languages approaches the console beneath the floating cube. The interface is ancient, but its design is elegant. 3 contact points arranged in a triangle. Human hand spacing. He extends a crystalline tendril and touches all 3 simultaneously. The cube awakens. Light blooms within it, spreading like dawn across a dark world. The chamber floods with holographic projections, star maps, chemical formulas, genetic sequences, historical records, and at the center of it all, a figure resolves from nothing into presence. A human. Female. The Valthine records would classify her. Dark skin. Silver hair despite a face that suggests youth by human standards. Eyes that hold depths the crystalline beings cannot quite process. Brown, flecked with gold, alive with intelligence that seems to actually see them despite being merely a recording. She wears a simple uniform, deep blue with a patch on the shoulder showing a planet Earth cradled in stylized hands. And she smiles. Not with triumph or aggression, but with something softer, something sad. "Hello," she says, and her voice carries warmth that fills the dead station like a breath of life returned. "My name is Dr. Amara Chen. I was the director of the Antar Archive project. If you're seeing this message, then you've found us, or what's left of us, and that means I've been dead for a very, very long time." She pauses, as if gathering her thoughts, though every word of this is scripted, recorded, stored in quantum precision. You're probably wondering what happened to us, where humanity went, why the galaxy is full of our ruins but empty of our voices. She glances down, then back up, and the sorrow in her simulated eyes is almost too real. The answer is complicated. The answer is simple. We reached too far. We loved too much. We refused to accept limitations, and in the end, those limitations accepted us. The hologram flickers, and behind her, images begin to play. Earth, pristine and blue. Cities of glass and steel reaching toward the sky. Ships launching toward the stars. First contact with the Valthine. Younger then, still flesh-bound, curious about the strange creatures made of meat and dream, who greeted them with gifts and questions. "We were good at surviving," Dr. Chen continues. "Better than anyone expected. We clawed our way from caves to spacecraft in 10,000 years. We turned deserts into gardens and gardens into cities. We split the atom and mapped the genome and touched other worlds with our own hands. We were relentless." The images shift. Colonies spreading across star systems. terraforming operations turning dead rocks into living worlds, human ships trading with the Chromath, sharing technology with the Essence before their transcendence, humanity as galactic citizens, young and eager and impossibly energetic. But we were also fragile, Dr. Chen says, and her voice drops to something like a confession. We lived such short lives, 70 years, 80 if we were lucky, even with all our medicine and engineering. We could extend it, yes, 200 years, 300 with the right treatments. But there was always an end, always a clock counting down, and maybe that's why we burned so bright, because we knew we didn't have time to waste. The scene changes. War. The Valthene watching recognize the signs, ships destroyed, colonies burning, space itself torn by weapons that violated physics. But not war between humans and others. War between humans and humans. We couldn't agree. Dr. Chen continues, and now her voice carries weight, like stone grinding against stone. On anything, really. How to live, what to build, whether to stay human or become something else. Some of us wanted to spread across every star. Some wanted to upload into machines. Some wanted to edit our genetics until we weren't even the same species anymore. And some just wanted to go home. Back to Earth. Back to the blue sky and salt water and the feeling of grass under their feet. The images show the fracturing, factions forming, ideologies hardening into religions, the unity wars, the archives call them, though there was nothing unified about them. Humans fighting humans while the rest of the galaxy watched in horror and fascination. We almost destroyed ourselves, Dr. Chen admits, completely. There was a moment, one single moment, when someone's finger hovered over a button that would have ignited every star in the Orion arm into a chain reaction of supernovas, a weapon so terrible we built it just to prove we could, just to make sure no one else would dare threaten us. She closes her eyes. We didn't press it, but the fact that we could, that changed everything. The Valthene watch in silence. This is history they thought they knew, but hearing it from a human voice, even a simulated one, makes it new, makes it real. The accord was signed on Harmony Station, Dr. Chen continues. 73 nations, 27 off-world colonies, 15 corporate entities, and 8 digital collectives. We agreed to limit ourselves, to step back from the edge. We dismantled the star killers. We put restrictions on genetic engineering, on artificial intelligence, on quantum weapons. We tried to be responsible. She laughs, but there's no joy in it. It lasted 90 years, 3 generations, then the cascade happened. The hologram shows it, not in detail. Some things are too terrible for preservation, but in outline. A research station experimenting with dimensional folding, a miscalculation, a tear in reality itself, and through that tear, something looking back. Something vast and alien and utterly incompatible with the laws of physics that govern living matter. We called it the absence, Dr. Chen says quietly, because that's what it did. It made things absent. Not destroyed. Destruction implies rubble, corpses, evidence. No. The absence erased, completely. 5 colonies gone in the first week. 100 billion people, not dead, just gone, as if they had never existed. The Valthene's light forms flicker with distress. They remember the absence. It is one of the few things in the galaxy that all species agree on. It exists, it is terrible, and it must never be disturbed. The quarantine zone around the Cascade Point is maintained by all civilizations jointly. It is the one law everyone obeys. We fought it, Dr. Chen continues. Of course we did. That's what humans do. We sent fleets. We deployed weapons that bent space-time. We tried to close the tear. We failed. Every ship we sent stopped transmitting. Every weapon we fired vanished before it reached the target. It was eating reality itself, and we had opened the door. Her image stands straighter, and her voice grows harder. So we made a choice. The last choice humanity would make as a unified species. We decided to seal the breach, not from our side. That was impossible. From the other side. Silence in the dead station. The Valthene process this. 40 volunteers, Dr. Chen says. We called them the Threshold Core. Scientists, engineers, philosophers, artists. The best and bravest of us. They went through, into the absence. They carried with them a device that would collapse the dimensional tear from within. A quantum guillotine that would sever our universe from whatever existed on the other side. She smiles again, and this time there's pride in it. Fierce and terrible and absolutely human. They succeeded. The tear closed. The absence stopped spreading. But the energy release. It cascaded back through every human settlement, every colony, every ship. Not physically. We didn't explode. We didn't burn. We just faded. The hologram shows it in metaphor. Stars dimming one by one across a map of the galaxy. Human signals going dark. Colonies falling silent. Not all at once, but over the course of months. The wave spreading outward from the cascade point at the speed of quantum entanglement. The physicists called it quantum resonance collapse. Dr. Chen explains, when you close a dimensional breach, you create a debt. Energy borrowed from the fundamental structure of reality has to be paid back. And the Threshold Core paid it with their lives. But the debt was bigger than 40 people. It was bigger than 40 billion. The quantum signature of humanity itself had been entangled with the absence, and when it collapsed, she spreads her hands. We went with it. Not all at once, not instantly, but over 7 months, every human being in the galaxy felt themselves beginning to fade, to become less real, like a dream forgetting itself. Some went into cryosleep, hoping to outlast it. Some uploaded their minds to digital storage. Some built bunkers on dead worlds and prayed. None of it mattered. The debt had to be paid, and we paid it. The Valthine are perfectly still. Silent watcher of stars vibrates at a frequency that might be crying, if crystalline beings could cry. But before we went, Dr. Chen says, and now her voice fills with something else entirely. Hope, defiant and impossible. We prepared. We built archives. Thousands of them. Scattered across the galaxy in stable orbits, protected by the best shielding we could devise. We filled them with everything. Our history, our science, our art, our music, our literature. The sum total of what it meant to be human. Because if we had to disappear, she steps forward. And even though she's a hologram, even though she's been dead for 3 millennia, her presence is overwhelming. We wanted someone to know we existed. We wanted someone to learn from our mistakes. We wanted someone to inherit our dreams. We were terrified of being forgotten, of vanishing so completely that the universe wouldn't even remember to miss us. The images behind her shift again, humans working frantically in the last months, building, recording, encoding, parents telling stories to holographic recorders, scientists documenting their life's work, artists creating final masterpieces, all of them knowing they were dying but refusing to die quietly. This archive, Dr. Chen says, gesturing to encompass the station around her, contains 16 petabytes of data. Everything from fundamental physics to recipes for chocolate chip cookies. From our greatest philosophical treatises to jokes that made us laugh until we cried. From the complete genetic sequence of every species on Earth to recordings of children singing lullabies. We tried to capture everything, the good and the terrible, the beautiful and the mundane, because all of it mattered, all of it was us. She pauses, and when she speaks again, her voice is barely above a whisper. I don't know who you are. I don't know what species found this, or when, or why. But I need you to understand something. We weren't special. We weren't chosen by gods or destiny. We were just stubborn. We looked at a universe that was vast and cold and indifferent, and we decided that wasn't good enough. We decided to fill it with warmth, with light, with love. The hologram flickers. We made so many mistakes. We hurt each other. We hurt ourselves. We built weapons that could annihilate solar systems and use them against our own kind. We created artificial intelligences and then feared them. We edited our genetics and then argued about what it meant to be human anymore. We were contradictory and chaotic and often cruel. She looks directly at where the Valthine stand, as if she can see across time itself. But we also created beauty. We wrote poetry about stars we would never reach. We composed symphonies that made people weep. We looked at suffering and invented compassion. We looked at death and invented medicine. We looked at darkness and invented science to illuminate it. We were terrified every day of our lives, and we kept going anyway. The images behind her shift to show humans at their best. A surgeon saving a child's life. An engineer building a water purification system for a drought-stricken colony. A teacher explaining mathematics to eager students. A parent holding a newborn and crying with joy. Simple moments. Human moments. That's what we were, Dr. Chen says. Not the weapons. Not the wars. Not the mistakes. Those were symptoms of fear. No, what we really were, we were the species that looked at impossible odds and said, not good enough. And we were the ones who fell down and got back up. We were the ones who loved despite knowing we would lose everything we loved. We were the ones who sang songs into the void knowing the void would never sing back. Her form begins to fade, growing translucent. This archive will teach you our science. It will show you our technology. It will explain how we bent physics and manipulated matter. Use it if you want. Build on it. Make something better than we did. But please, she's almost gone now. Just a sketch of light in the darkness. Please remember that behind every equation was a person who stayed up too late, drinking terrible coffee, scribbling on whatever surface was available. Behind every invention was someone who tried 10,000 times and failed and tried again. Behind every piece of art was a heart breaking with beauty. We were people, flawed and finite and absolutely convinced we mattered. The hologram stabilizes one last time. Dr. Chen stands clear and present, and her final words ring through the station like a bell. We are gone, but we were here. We touched the stars. We asked the big questions. We loved and lost and tried again. We were humanity, and we want you to know. She smiles. We want you to know it was worth it. Every moment, every struggle, every joy and every sorrow. It was all worth it. And if you're listening to this, if you found us across the gulf of time and space, then we're not really gone, are we? We're still here, in your memory, in your knowledge, in whatever you choose to do with what we've left behind. Tell them we were here. Tell them we mattered. Tell them humanity burned bright and fierce and beautiful, and when we died making sure something would survive us. Tell them. Her voice drops to a whisper that somehow fills the entire universe. Tell them we love them, whoever they are, whatever they become. We love them enough to leave them everything. The hologram dissolves. The archives open. 16 petabytes of human knowledge flood into the Valthine's receivers. It's too much to process. It's too much to understand. It's everything. Silent watcher of stars trembles. Did we know? When they were fading? Did we know? Keeper of Dead Languages pulses with something like shame. We knew. The Valthine Council received transmissions, calls for help, explanations of what was happening, requests for anything, acknowledgement, witnesses. We debated what to do. By the time we decided to respond, they were gone. Seventh of reflection finishes. The three crystalline beings stand in silence, surrounded by the legacy of a species that died saving a galaxy that barely noticed. Around them, the archives hum with potential, waiting, patient, ready to teach anyone willing to learn. We should return to the ship, Keeper of Dead Languages finally says. This discovery will require the Council's attention. The archives must be preserved, studied. No, Silent Watcher of Stars says. Her elder companions turn to her in surprise. No, we should listen. Listen to what? To them, to what they left behind. All of it, not study, not analyze. Listen. She moves to the interface, her crystalline form bathing it in soft light. You said I was young, barely crystallized. Do you know what I remember about having flesh? About being Valthine before I transcended? Her companions wait. I remember being afraid, she says quietly. Every moment. Afraid of dying, afraid of pain, afraid of being forgotten. When I crystallized, I thought I was escaping that fear, becoming eternal, becoming pure thought. But I wasn't escaping. I was forgetting what it meant to be alive. She touches the interface, and the archives respond. Music fills the station. Human music, something called a symphony. Strings and horns and instruments the Vulthene have no names for, all woven together in complexity that makes their mathematical minds sing. And underneath the music, a voice, human voice, singing about love and loss and the beauty of temporary things. They knew they were dying, Silent Watcher of Stars says. Every day of their lives, they were dying from the moment they were born. And instead of letting it destroy them, they made it beautiful. They turned mortality into art. The music swells, and in its harmonies, the Vulthene hear something they haven't felt since they abandoned flesh. The bittersweet ache of beauty that cannot last. The pain of caring about something that will end. The joy of experiencing something precious precisely because it is fleeting. We should tell them, Silent Watcher of Stars whispers. The galaxy, all the species, all the civilizations. We should tell them what humans did. Not just that they saved us. That they showed us what it means to matter. Keeper of Dead Languages hesitates, then pulses agreement. Yes, the archives should not be sealed away. They should be shared. But the Council will debate for decades. Seventh of Reflection interrupts, his ancient voice carrying unexpected passion. They will form committees. They will analyze and discuss and philosophize. And while they talk, this knowledge will sit in darkness. No, the young one is right. We tell them. We tell everyone. And so they do. The transmission goes out that cycle. Not an official report to the Vulthene Council, though that comes later. No, they broadcast it wide and unencrypted across every frequency, every network, every communication channel they can access. 3 crystalline beings, standing in a dead station around a black cube, telling the galaxy what they found, telling the galaxy about humanity. The response is immediate and vast. Ships alter course. Research teams scramble. The Chromath swarm mind dedicates 17 million drones to analyzing the implications. The Essence Collective emerges briefly from pure thought to acknowledge the significance. Even the silent ones, species so advanced they haven't communicated with anyone in 10,000 years, send a single pulse of recognition across quantum channels. Everyone remembers. Everyone suddenly realizes what they lost. Within a year, the Antar Archive becomes a pilgrimage site. Species from across the galaxy send representatives. Not to study, though study happens. Not to analyze, though analysis follows. No, they come to witness, to pay respect, to stand in the presence of something sacred. And the archives are opened, copied, distributed. Humanity's knowledge spreads across the galaxy like seeds on a cosmic wind. Their science accelerates research across a dozen fields. Their philosophy sparks new schools of thought among species who thought they had nothing left to learn. Their art changes everything. The Chromath encounter human music and spend 5 years composing a chemical symphony that recreates the emotional experience in pheromones. The Vulthene study human poetry and begin to wonder if they lost something important when they abandoned metaphor. The Essence Collective examines human literature and debates whether consciousness without emotion is really consciousness at all. But more than knowledge spreads. Something else. Something harder to quantify. Hope. Because if humanity could burn that bright, that fierce, that beautiful in just 10,000 years, what could others do with 10 million? If these fragile, short-lived creatures could touch the stars and love and dream and create despite knowing they would lose it all, what excuse did anyone else have for not trying? The galaxy changes. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, like dawn spreading across a dark world. Species that had grown stagnant begin to innovate again. Civilizations that had turned inward start reaching outward. Art flourishes. Philosophy deepens. And everywhere, in 1,000 languages across 10,000 worlds, beings ask themselves the same question. If humanity mattered, do I? And the answer, whispered back from dead archives and living hearts alike, is always the same. Yes. 300 years after the Antar archive is discovered, the Galactic Concord establishes the Remembrance Protocol. Every species, every civilization, every collective intelligence in known space agrees to contribute to a new archive, not just scientific data or historical records, but the essence of what makes them unique: their cultures, their dreams, their fears, their art and music and stories. They call it the Library of Lights, a distributed network of archives spread across safe orbits throughout the galaxy. If another species faces extinction by cataclysm or war or cosmic accident, they will not vanish completely. They will not be forgotten. Humanity's final gift is not their science. It is not their technology. It is the simple, profound understanding that being remembered matters, that existence has meaning because someone witnessed it, that love and art and struggle and joy are worth preserving, even if, especially if, they are temporary. 500 years after the discovery, a Chromath poet swarm composes a work called The Echo. It spreads across the galaxy in chemical notation, translated into every known form of communication. The work is simple in concept, profound in execution, a single human voice saying, "Hello," repeated across billions of individual drones, each one adding their own harmonics, their own interpretation, their own understanding of what that simple greeting means. Hello. I am here. I exist. I want to connect. I want to matter. The performance takes 17 days. Species from across the galaxy tune in to experience it. And when it ends, when the last harmonic fades into silence, the galaxy is different, because they finally understand what humanity knew all along. Existence is not enough. Survival is not enough. To truly live, you must risk, must create, must reach out into the darkness and hope something reaches back. You must love the temporary. You must create beauty knowing it will fade. You must matter, even if just for a moment. You must be human in the deepest sense of the word. 700 years after the Antar archive is discovered, Silent Watcher of Stars, now called Keeper of Human Memory, returns to the station. She has spent centuries studying human culture, learning their languages, understanding their mindset. She has become the galaxy's foremost expert on a species she never met. She floats in the central chamber, alone, as the simulation of Dr. Amara Chen plays one more time. She has seen it thousands of times. Every word is encoded in her crystalline matrix. But she watches again because some truths bear infinite repetition. When it ends, when Dr. Chen fades into light and memory, Keeper of Human Memory speaks into the silence. "We heard you," she says, her voice carrying frequencies that would sound like tears if crystalline beings could cry. "We heard you, and we remembered, and we changed. You asked us to tell them you mattered. So I'm telling you, you did, you do, you always will." She pauses. "I wish you could see what you started. I wish you could know that your love reached across time and space and sparked something new, something beautiful. We're not you. We can't be, but we're trying to live with the same fierce joy, the same stubborn hope, the same absolute conviction that existence is worth celebrating." She places a crystalline tendril on the black cube. "Thank you," she whispers, "for the archives, for the knowledge, for the art, but mostly, thank you for showing us that it's okay to be afraid and mortal and finite. Thank you for proving that temporary things can have eternal meaning. Thank you for loving us before we existed. Thank you for believing we would care." The cube pulses once, warm light in the darkness. Just a programmed response to touch, nothing more. But Keeper of Human Memory chooses to believe otherwise, chooses to believe that somewhere, somehow, in whatever existence follows death, humanity knows they are remembered, knows they mattered, knows they are loved by a galaxy of strangers who learned how to love from studying their example. She leaves the station, but she will return. She always returns. Because some places are sacred, some memories are too precious to abandon, and some echoes deserve to reverberate forever. The galaxy turns. Stars are born and die. Civilizations rise and fall. But in 10,000 archives scattered across the spiral arms, humanity endures, not as they were, flesh and blood and finite dreams, but as something more, as inspiration, as possibility, as proof that beings who lived fast and loved hard and died young could still touch infinity. The Valthine crystallize their young and teach them human poetry. The Chromath compose symphonies based on human emotional complexity. The Essence Collective debates human philosophy in their digital realm. The Silent Ones occasionally break their eternal quiet to transmit a single image. Earth, blue and green and impossibly beautiful, cradled in stylized hands. And everywhere on worlds humanity never reached, and among species humanity never met, beings look up at the stars and remember. Remember that once, long ago, a species of stubborn, brilliant, terrified, loving creatures decided that the universe was too cold and too dark and too empty. So they filled it with light. They filled it with music. They filled it with laughter and tears and art and science and dreams. They filled it with themselves, even knowing themselves would not last. They filled it with love, even knowing love ends in loss. They filled it with hope, even knowing hope could break their hearts. They filled it with humanity. And when the darkness came for them, when the universe called in its debt and demanded payment, they paid willingly. They paid with grace. They paid with dignity. And they paid with one last, defiant gesture. They left a message. Thousands of messages. Millions of messages. Archives full of proof that they existed. They mattered. They loved. They left an echo. And echoes, by their nature, never truly fade. They bounce through time and space, growing softer perhaps, but never silent. Never gone. Always present for anyone willing to listen. The galaxy listens. The galaxy remembers. The galaxy changes. And in the Antar Nebula, where stellar winds howl through columns of newborn stars, a small station drifts in the darkness. Its hull is scarred. Its systems are ancient, but its core still burns with purpose, still broadcasts its signal, still whispers into the void. We were here. We mattered. We loved. And across the galaxy, from a trillion throats in 1,000 languages, the answer comes back. We know. We remember. We honor you. The machine asked, what is humanity? The galaxy answered, everything that matters, everything that endures, everything that makes the darkness bearable and the stars worth reaching for, everything we aspire to be. Humanity is not gone. Humanity is the question the universe still asks itself. Humanity is the standard against which others measure their own worth. Humanity is the echo that reminds us all, regardless of form or thought or origin, that temporary existence can have permanent meaning, that we are all allowed to matter, that we are all worthy of love, that we are all capable of beauty, that we are all, in our own way, echoes of Earth. If you have heard this story, then you are part of it now. You carry the echo forward. You decide what it means. You choose whether to live with fierce joy or quiet surrender. You determine whether your own existence will matter to those who come after. Humanity's message was not, remember us because we were special. It was, remember us so you know that you can be special too. So we remember. We tell the stories. We preserve the archives. We teach the younger species about the strange, brilliant, terrified, loving creatures who burned bright and died young and left the galaxy forever changed. We tell them about humanity. We tell them about Earth. We tell them about the echo that never fades. And we listen, always, for new voices to add to the chorus. Because that's what humanity taught us. That's the gift they left behind. Not technology or weapons or power. Connection, community, the absolute certainty that we are better together than apart, that every voice matters, that every life has meaning, that love, in all its forms, across all its variations, is the only thing that makes the cold universe bearable. We are not humanity. We cannot be. They are gone, scattered across quantum foam and dimensional debris. But we carry their echo. We amplify their signal. We ensure that 3,000 years from now, or 30,000, or 3 million, When new species emerge and look up at the stars and wonder if anyone came before them, they will know. Humanity was here, and they were magnificent,